Good morning. My name is Joe Vandal. I am the last Rosicrucian. Today we are going to begin a course, the Oak Assertiveness Training Course. It's divided into 10 segments or 10 degrees. This is the first segment. And actually, this is printed material, and I will post in the first comment place where you can find this on my regular web page so that you can read it. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be supplementing the material, the course material. Now, I'm very excited to be able to offer this because I believe that this material, this assertiveness training material, is the finest that I have ever run across. And I feel very privileged to be able to offer it because it represents, actually, it literally represents a lifetime of research and study and experience sharing on that. So I'm going to give before we get started, I'm going to say this came out of the oak material, which is mainly what I started out with. And there was actually 4 systems that ended up being based upon the oak material. The oak matrix, which was pretty much cosmology, metaphysics, things like that. The oak tarot of love and romance, which was very purely relationship oriented, talking about the stages of development. The Oak Matrix Unleashed, which was actually a collection of self-empowerment techniques, concepts that I've discovered over the years, and the Sparks Field Manual, which actually was a development of storytelling and video making or movie making, working actually with AI. And they all 4 of these shared the common kernel, the common acorn of duality as a loving embrace, not duality as war or conflict. And what you're seeing now is actually the 5th system or the 5th iteration of all that material distilled and condensed down to its finest possible essence. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And I'll just kind of read some of the things here, and I'll break off into a discussion when it comes to something that I might have a little bit to add to it. Degree 1, the first spark, knowing what you want and allowing yourself to want it. You'd think that'd be pretty obvious, but a lot of people are not clear upon what they want. How can you be assertive if you don't really know, if you're not really clear about what it is that you want? The purpose. The first movement of assertiveness is not speaking. It is recognizing your own signal before someone else's expectations, emotions, or demands override it. The beginner does not need to become forceful. They need to discover that an internal yes or no actually exists. In other words, for this whole degree 1, you don't need to do anything other than identify something that you really want and not that it's something to please other people or something that other people want. Number 1, the core movement. Degree 1 establishes the first reciprocal circuit. Notice, name, allow, and express. You notice what is happening inside you. I want this. I don't want that. You name what you actually want, feel, need, or prefer. You say it. You identify it. You allow that information to exist without immediately judging or suppressing it. So don't overthink it. Just take something that you identify, this is something that I really want, and just sit with it a little while. Not trying to, how do I do it or this or that. You just try to let it sit. You allow the information to exist without immediately judging or suppressing it. Then, when appropriate, you express it clearly. You say it out loud. Assertiveness begins here because you cannot represent yourself until you know what you are representing. Number 2, the Oak translation. This is the smallest expression of the larger polarity. Expansion. I have something here. Containment. I can hold that something long enough to know what it is. If you're kind of confused with expansion and containment, expansion is going outward movement. Containment is a receiving inward movement. That is a reciprocal circuit and exchange. So you identify something and you kind of pull it in. You pull it in by naming it. That's what we're talking about. I can hold that something long enough to know what it is. In the exchange portion, this reciprocal portion, I can allow my reality to meet yours without either of us needing to disappear. That last part is crucial. Assertiveness is not dominance. When you say, I want this, it doesn't mean it's taking away from somebody else. It doesn't mean that what they want cannot exist. It's not a fight. It's not dominance. It's not getting your way. It's not making another person agree with you. It is the ability to remain present as yourself while another person remains present as themselves. That is the first practical expression of loving duality, where you're sharing your understanding. This is where I'm coming from, and the other person is, this is where I'm coming from. Number 3, the first blind spot. Many people unconsciously confuse kindness with compliance, peace with silence, empathy with agreement, flexibility with self-abandonment, assertiveness with aggression. Degree 1 begins separating these, sorting them out so that they're not confusing, because they are not the same thing. You can understand someone and disagree with them. You can love someone and say no. You can remain calm and be firm. You can disappoint someone without having done something wrong. You can change your mind without betraying anyone. You have the right to change your mind. To be assertive means to know these things. And in this first degree, we're just getting started with some of this, so you get a little more familiar. Number 4, the body as an early signal. Before the conscious mind formulates a boundary, the body often registers something: tightening, pulling away, fatigue, restlessness, warmth, interest, relief, a subtle yes, a subtle no. These aren't automatically instructions, they're information. In other words, pay attention to what your body's telling you. When you're thinking about something, you're exposed to something, you're in a situation, what's your body telling you? This is the first step in assertiveness, learning what your body's telling you as information. The practice is simply notice before explaining. Notice things. Don't immediately construct a justification for the feeling. Just notice it. Don't, oh, this is why you don't need, you just notice the feeling. Notice the emotion. Notice what your body's telling you. And number 5, the degree 1 practice. For 1 week, 3 times a day, pause briefly and ask, what is actually true for me right now? Where am I at? What's important to me right now? What's my focus on? So what you're trying to do is get into the habit of tuning in to where you're at and not avoiding it, tuning in. Then identify one of 4 things. I want this. I don't want this. I need this. I prefer this. No action is required. That's important. The first exercise isn't doing something about it. It is rebuilding contact with your own signal, with your own inner self. You got to start someplace, and this is where you start. You start by listening 3 times a day for a week. Just kind of tune in. Again, it's not doing anything about it. It is identifying. It's checking in. Number 6, the micro expression. Once the internal signal becomes clearer, practice expressing small preferences. Instead of whatever you want, try, I'd prefer the other one. Don't agree all the time. Notice your pattern. Notice what you're doing. Learning how to be assertive is taking these small steps. And a preference is a preference. There's nothing wrong with a preference. Instead of that's fine, try I'd rather not. Just say I'd rather not. It's hard. These can be hard, but they're the beginning, because there's nothing wrong with with being honest. Say I'd rather not do that. Perhaps we can do something else, or we can do that at another time. Instead of I don't care, try I have a preference. These are tiny acts of sovereignty. And sovereignty is assertiveness. So this is the things that we're building upon. And because the stakes are low, they're excellent training. It's not the end of the world when you do these things, and the results that you get are not going to be the end of the world. Number 7, the first boundary. Eventually, degree 1 reaches its first real threshold. No. A clean no does not require hostility. It does not require a courtroom argument. It does not require 10 reasons to explain. Try, no, I don't want to do that. Or, no, that doesn't work for me. Then stop. The silence afterward is part of the exercise. You're learning that another person's reaction does not automatically invalidate your boundary. If somebody reacts negatively, that doesn't mean you're wrong. That doesn't mean your boundary is wrong. It's just them reacting negatively. It's up to them to respect your boundary. It's up, for you to respect their boundaries. Number 8, the reciprocal test. Assertiveness becomes relational when the other person responds. This is what we're talking about a little bit. They may accept when you say no, they may accept it. They may negotiate. They may disagree. They may become disappointed. Your task is not to control their response. You can't control what somebody else thinks. You can't control what somebody else feels. You cannot control what somebody else does. Your task is to remain present and accurate. This is where I am. This is where I stand. A useful internal question is, can I allow their reality to exist without surrendering mine? Without surrendering yourself? Your authentic being? Does it need to be one or the other? Is there a way both can exist together? That is the degree 1 version of the oak embrace. Can I allow their reality to exist without surrendering mine? Number 9, the first threshold. Degree 1 completes when the student begins to discover, I can have a preference without needing permission to have it. It doesn't, you can, let's repeat that. I can have a preference without needing permission. Do you have in the past, do you need permission to have a preference? That does not mean every preference must become a demand. It means the person can distinguish what I feel from what I am entitled to require. That distinction will become enormously important later. We can feel things whether we're entitled to require them. That's a totally different thing. But feeling them is part of life. Not stuffing, not repressing, not demanding. Number 10, degree 1 completion marker. The student is ready for degree 2 when they can increasingly recognize their own preferences, identify genuine yes-no signals, tolerate minor disagreement, state a preference without apology, say no without excessive explanation, hear another person's no without treating it as rejection. That's a big one. Just when somebody says no to you doesn't mean your world is broken or you're, you know, it's like get over it. Allow them to have a feeling and emotion too. Distinguish discomfort from actual danger. There's a lot of things that don't feel very good, but they're not really dangerous. You got to learn to recognize what's what. Life is not fuzzy, shiny, smiley, sugar and spice things. Remain themselves when someone else is unhappy. When someone else is unhappy, you don't need to change what you're feeling. And we'll be getting into some of that because sometimes your remaining sovereign, your remaining in your space might be what the other person needs to snap out of where they're at. Just saying. The emerging capability, and this is what you want to look at. I can exist clearly in the presence of another person. In other words, they can perceive, they can understand where I'm coming from. I can exist clearly in the presence of another person. This is who I am. This is what I stand for. This is where I'm at. That is the first degree of assertiveness. And notice something beautiful about the architecture we've built. Degree 1 doesn't teach someone how to fight. It teaches them how to appear to others and to themselves. The person becomes perceptible to themselves first. Then they become perceptible to others. Only after that do we need to teach negotiation, boundaries, conflict, influence repair, leadership, and the more advanced forms of relational power. The course is beginning exactly where it should, with the first spark. And that's the end of this lesson. But I want to share with you this very last part. It's like the only way you can appear properly, clearly to someone else is if you can appear clearly to yourself. And that comes by identifying these things that you stand for, these things that are important to you. I hope my little rambling discussion has been helpful for this. I did actually. I've pretty much read through this and just added a little bit. So I think in the future I'll be doing that as well. I'm going to be I'm going to be posting these fairly rapidly so you can look for them. Till next time, thank you guys. Bye.